Welcome to the first lesson in our course called Marketing 101, How to Identify Your Target Client. Now, this is one of the most crucial elements of your business and probably one of the elements that so many photographers actually ignore. It's so crucial that it can make a difference between success or failure. So that's why we cover it as the very first lesson in the course. How to identify your target client. Why is that important? Well, think about it. I always use the analogy of a crowded room. If you walked into a crowded bar with, say, 100 people in it, and a few of your clients were in there, and you were trying to attract their attention, it'd be extremely difficult. 100 people there is crowded, noisy. You're trying to get some attention, you just can't. Imagine if there was a doorman at that bar who actually qualified people before they got into the bar, and then when you walked in there was only 5 people in the room, all with the interests that you were after, the exact type of client that you were after, so attracting their attention would be a lot easier. That's the kind of analogy, that's what we're talking about. Knowing who your target client is crucial to define your business, as you can see. Your client determines your pricing, your branding, the way you behave, and who your competition is. So it's very important to identify them properly. If you fail to identify your client, it leads to poor decision making, particularly when it comes to advertising and marketing on Facebook and places like that. And it can lead to failure, to be honest. And I know I can hear some of you already saying, but I want to sell my services to everyone. And yes, I get that. But not everyone wants to buy your services, so you've got to find the people that do want, and that's part of this identification process. Properly identifying your client makes it easier to reach them. You need to know who to promote your business to. So, the easiest way to start this is to ask yourself, what clients would you like to photograph? What would they be? What age? What profession, if they have any? What type of venue might you choose for their wedding? What type of wedding would it be? Would it be a church wedding, a venue wedding, registry office? These are all the type of things that help identify your client. How much would they spend on their wedding itself? The full wedding, how much would they spend? And would photography be important to them? I hope it would be, because you want your clients to value your photography. Get a blank piece of paper and start writing these things down, right? Dig a little deeper. What type of phone might they use? What social media platform will you use? What type of magazines will they buy? What about behaviours, daily behaviours? People planning a wedding might be hitting a gym to look their best. What kind of gym would it be? A low-cost gym, a cheap gym, or a exclusive fancy spa hotel gym? What about their habits? Again, magazines, books. What kind of stuff do they read? What do they do on a daily basis? What memberships might they belong to? Would they be members of, I don't know, I've said gym membership as before. Would they be the type of people that have these memberships where they're getting their daily meals sent to them, these pre-prepped meals on the internet, that type of client? What kind of stores do they shop in? Are they Primark or are they Prada? How do they buy? Do they buy impulsively, or do they meticulously research things and look into it a lot? While you're doing this, also think about what type of client you would like to work with, because certain clients can be quite difficult. As we went through our weddings, our career, but near the end of the career, we did some really expensive weddings, and some of the most difficult people to deal with were the very high-end weddings, because they had very particular requirements and very demanding. Equally so, at the start of our career, where we were doing cheaper weddings, shall we say, equally demanding. So you want to get somewhere in the middle, people that are nice to work with. So here's an example of my ideal client, who I targeted my marketing to effectively. My client was female, she was aged 35 to 45. She was working in a profession of some kind, a doctor, lawyer, teacher, something at managerial level. Their partner was in a similar position, Her income would be between typically 45 to 65,000 a year. She would like a traditional white wedding and loved fashion magazines and designer brands. And she was interested in her own looks. Right? That was my ideal client. And if I look back at my weddings, I could say probably 80 to 90% of my clients fitted that profile. Why were they my ideal client? 35, 45, much more mature, been through life's experiences, much easier to work with. Decision making, professionals are used to decision making and delegating responsibility. They have no problem with you taking that responsibility, taking things off them to get done, and they trust you to do it. Partner with dual income means they've got a disposable income typically. That income range means stuff like this is affordable to them. Traditional white wedding and they like fashion magazines. That matched my style of photography, which was a kind of fashion focused. Weddings with Wow was our kind of trademark kind of thing. We pushed very stylized bridal images that they would kind of like see in magazines. And if they were interested in their looks, that allowed me to work with them to achieve that, because she was interested in her looks, so she was wanting to get a great photograph of herself. So she was happy for me to spend time on her wedding day to get that look. You want to create a client profile document. It's going to have the demographics, what age, gender, occupation, income, location, marital status, obviously going to be engaged, what their likes and dislikes are, habits, type of personality, type of lifestyle, vacations, holidays that they have, etc. What their buying traits and habits are, and what their dreams and goals. This is all important to the client profile. You write this stuff down. Remember, when it comes to business, knowledge is power. That's why we do this, and we'll return to this very heavily during our training on advertising later down the road. Don't be afraid to ask prospective clients what their interests are and help refine your research further. You might find something that a client does and it's quite easy to identify in other people, so that's why we can ask that. Don't just stick this in a drawer and forget about it. Keep referring to it and ask yourself if you're reaching that target client. So that's the first part of our course over. It's quite quick because it is quite a subject that needs you to do work here. Get that profile done. Start thinking about it, because this will help you a lot later on down the road. Okay, well, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next course.